Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. Well, I know I keep coming back to, you know, the fertilizer issue here, but this is a very important issue. Uh, Considering that, you know, many, several countries are seeing major crop disruptions due to weather, um, that means that your remaining viable uh, arable land must produce, at least as much as it used to, if not more. Um, so when you have 80% crop losses in one country, 50% in another, 75, well, two-thirds of the United States, at least 66%, is in some level of drought. And you've got all these other things going on. That makes fertilizer far more important for the world food supply. So what is going on now is that there are hundreds of thousands of tons of solid fertilizer that is stacked up on ships at European ports that came from Russia. Russia has agreed to release all of this fertilizer to impoverished nations such as South Africa. Um, Now, in addition, there is a pipeline of liquid fertilizer that goes from Russia down through Ukraine. Ukraine has been blocking the transport of this ammonia-based fertilizer. Why is this important at this time of year? At this time of year, ammonia-based nitrogen heavy fertilizer is considered hot. You don't just apply fertilizer and plant immediately because your plants won't grow. The fertilizer will burn the young plants. Typically with solid fertilizer, what is done is that it is applied in the fall after the last harvest so that it has time to cool down and dissipate through the soil. In nature, nitrogen builds up in the soil, over the winter months. So this is completely normal. With liquid nitrogen fertilizer, that's not usually used in undeveloped countries because it takes it's dangerous. It takes special equipment, special training that they just don't have. In America, there are special trucks, equipment that inject the nitrogen-based fertilizer down to the root level in the soil. And it takes, extreme protective gear, and usually this is contracted out for small to medium farms. Unless you have a massive farm, many thousand, thousands of acres, then you're not going to invest in that equipment that's going to be used once a year. It's not worth the investment. So most farms actually contract this out. Anyway, so now Ukraine is stating they will allow the liquid fertilizer to cross their country via pipeline to ships if, in return for the release of Ukrainian prisoners of war. Well, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov went off on that one. You want to trade fertilizer for human lives. This is holding the whole planet for ransom. And remember that Ukraine cut off gas that was flowing from Russia via pipeline to Europe. Before the Nord Stream 1 pipeline had failed and had to be shut down, Ukraine had shut down at least one, I think two pipelines flowing from Russia to Europe, which made the gas shortage. That's really what set off the gas shortage in Europe, even before the sanctions on Russian gas. This was started by Ukraine. Remember that in 2006, Ukraine stole gas, siphoned off gas from pipelines going from Russia to Europe. They siphoned this off. They stole gas, and Russia sued them, and I think the World Court, and Ukraine lost. Yeah, they were hit with a fine of some, I think, $20 billion, but don't hold me to that number. All right, so to repeat information I've given out before, the production of nitrogen fertilizer is dependent on natural gas. With Europe suffering a gas shortage, self-imposed, they cannot produce fertilizer right now. They're more worried about heating their homes for the winter and getting their storage up. But, even if they get their storage at maximum capacity, that only provides for domestic household use. This is only basic stuff, and they still have to be importing more gas throughout the winter, even with their storage at full capacity. Africa has limited to no capacity to produce fertilizer. So this is gearing up for a food shortage. Even in the United States, we're able to produce fertilizer, but with a lot of that is getting exported to wealthy nations for their personal use, but at inflated cost. And the cost of fertilizer has risen by at least 300% this year. What this does is also drive up the cost of food. The World Food Organization has stated that food inflation is at the highest level ever globally. We are seeing a lot of food inflation in the United States, but it's nothing compared to what other countries are going through, especially now. Then with interest rates rising, what this does is make debt more burdensome to poorer countries, because it's not just the interest rates in the United States that are impacted. It's what we loan out, what the IMF loans out, what the World Bank owns out, etc., with all countries increasing interest rates. At least all countries in the SWIFT system are increasing interest rates. I believe that both Russia and China are actually decreasing interest rates. And the inflation rate in Russia right now is lower than it was before this conflict began. Anyway, so not only are poor countries being hit with a fertilizer shortage, but if they import food, they're having to pay more for it, and they just don't have the money. So this is going to continue. If this is not solved right now, then what is going to happen is that next year, 2023, we are going to see even more crop failures globally than we have seen this year. It won't even matter if rain levels increase, because without the fertilizer, crops aren't going to grow at nearly the same rate. You cut down crop output. So this is critical. They need to stop with the politics. Stop, and Ukraine wanting to trade fertilizer for human lives. So they're holding other lives hostage and want to trade the transport of something that is not theirs across their country. This is absolutely inexcusable, unconscionable, unethical. This is insane. So, I hope this explains in some way just how important this issue really is. Share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can, please donate whatever you can to help expand this channel and my presidential campaign. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a good day.